all right, everybody. Aloha Friday live after a fat-filled Thanksgiving. I tell you, I was telling Debbie how much I've eaten over the last couple of days. It has not been pretty, to say the least, but hey, we're here and we're grateful. We're thankful for all that we have and the relationships that we have. Debbie has been on my podcast before. So nice to have her again as we're talking about important things, marketing, sales, branding for 2023. Debbie, thank you for joining me today. It's a pleasure to see you again and discuss this important thing that people need to start planning for.
Yes, thank you for having me so much, Enrique. I'm excited to be here.
Well, folks, we're going to be talking about specifically, things like sales, marketing, branding, because if you don't get a jump on this in the next year, things are going to be different, right? We're here in the United States. We're looking at, and the folks that I follow and get information from, within the next 6 months, you're going to start seeing some things, get tight. Now, the other day I went, Debbie, I don't know how it is over there, but the other day I went and got a pound of ground beef, $10.
Yeah.
$10.
Mm-hmm.
I about dropped it back in there, but I needed it, right? So
Yes, exactly. Yes. It's just as expensive. Don't worry. It's just as expensive. I think it's a worldwide issue. We have issues here with gas. I mean, I look at my gas now. Before I would have just jump in my car and go anywhere. I have to be strategic and plan where I'm going. And of course, food is expensive, and you're experiencing Thanksgiving now. You're getting into Christmas, and that is the time you spend time with family. You spend a lot of money there, and so we have to be, we have to balance it out a little bit.
And as I was going through, and especially this last day or two, you're preparing, you feel the pressure, and the writing is on the wall that there's going to be some financial strain. We have been feeling it in the prices, and that's why I wanted to make sure that we came into this latter part of the year and talking about this specific topic, because leaders need to start considering how they're going to structure their sales, what they're looking at quarter 1, 2, 3, 4, because this next year, like I said, it's going to be a little difficult, but it's supposed to last anywhere between 2 to 3. So, it's a long period of time. And we just come out of COVID. We know what that feels like, being stuck in something for 3 solid years.
Yes.
Where we felt like we could.
And going through that too, and feeling the recessionary pressures as a result of that. A lot of companies closed as a result of the pandemic. So yes, so I think leaders do have to be very strategic in what they're doing. Things are not impossible, but you do have to be very strategic. Look at your resources, look at your people, look at your marketplaces, and then of course think of your business in a new way. We have to challenge ourselves to think about where can we find new customers and different types of customers as well.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about specifically those 3 topics today, folks. If you're joining us, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving for those of us here in the States. For those abroad, so happy and thankful for you and the relationships we built over the years. Please don't be shy to go get in the comments and let us know where you're joining us from, or anything around. Maybe you got a question for Debbie we can answer and get that done. And so we thank you for being with us. So Debbie, for those that don't know you, tell us a little bit of what you do, where you're at, what you do, and then we'll get into, the topic for tonight.
Okay, great. Okay. Well, thank you so much again, Enrique. Really great to chat with you. I know we've been LinkedIn friends for a few years now. Could be from 2018 or 19, Well, I am Debbie Jollie. I usually line the Stammering Communicator because I stammer terribly as a child and couldn't string two words together. And I use it as part of a tagline now, because persons will not naturally think of a person that stammers or stutters as a communicator, which is really my passion, which is sales and marketing, and that whole creative space. So I help businesses and entrepreneurs with that top line goal, that sales and revenue goal, and developing strategies towards improving that, increasing your revenue, again with very specific strategic initiatives.
Outstanding. Yeah.
And of course,
It,
I'm out of Trinidad and Tobago,
that's right.
right
Let's
here in the
get that.
Caribbean.
Let's get that right. A fellow Caribbean myself out of Puerto Rico.
Yep.
There's a lot of talent that comes out of the Caribbean. It's not often highlighted. And I tell you, I really appreciate the work you're doing down there in the islands. I know that you're, stretching your hand out
Yes.
towards the U.S., Canada, and anywhere a business will take you. And I wish you all the best in that.
Thank you.
Hopefully tonight we'll get you mainstream USA
Yes.
and get folks to get to know you and understand a little bit or dig a little bit more into what
Right.
you do. And we'll share that information at the latter part of our session today. But let's start with sales because, that's where it starts, right? You could,
Yes.
there is a parallel, which is marketing, and those teams work together to make sure
Yes.
that the message is right, but the sales is right. So as we step into this next year, 23, with the looming financial crisis, recession that they've been talking about for at least the last 6 months,
Yes.
there's a lot of questions on, do I need to restructure how I look at, my quarters, and do I need to restructure on how I push this item? But every year brings us an opportunity to refine, right? To refine
Absolutely.
something. So, with all the things and all the talks about the financial pieces, what is something that you see a leader should start looking at? Maybe they haven't looked at before.
I think the biggest challenge, especially with organizations, medium and large Fortune 500, is sometimes a lack of synergy between their sales and their marketing
Mm,
departments,
yeah.
which have two distinct roles, right? Marketing is much more of a lead generating role, right? Doing these types of ads, creating types of content to get your customers interested in your particular product or service. And then your sales team, your sales people are really responsible for getting these particular leads and closing these leads and hitting the particular targets and goals. But sometimes I've seen, or not rarely, sometimes, a lot of the times I see a misalignment, that you have marketing working on specific things and sales working on specific things, and there isn't a synergy. And to me, that's just a waste of time, resources, etc. Then they get into executive team meetings and they begin to point fingers. Sales is not doing this and marketing is not doing that. And I think the C-suite executives need to take a closer look at these teams, look at the leadership in each of those teams, a sales manager, a marketing manager, and have them design strategies that work together. The marketing responsible for that lead generation part, and to ensure that there is a synergy into the sales team and the sales team closing those. And of course, at the end of a particular quarter, you're going to just evaluate it. You look at your KPIs, you see what's working, what's not working, and be able to adjust. Companies need to be flexible and agile, especially now. So
Right.
if they realize something isn't working, be willing to change and adapt. But that's where I see leadership needs to focus on creating that harmony and that synergy between the two departments.
I've seen those two departments at work, and they have their own leadership, and
Yes.
sometimes it's the leaders that don't synergize, and
Mm-hmm.
so no wonder the
Yes.
departments don't, right? And so
Yes.
there's always this debate about
Mm-hmm.
chicken and the egg here.
Yes.
between
Yes.
sales and marketing.
Yeah.
And what I often see is that the internal struggles are so big that they flop in the market. They
Mm-hmm.
flop in the market because they're always trying to outshine each other.
Correct. Correct.
And there's a level of pride, right? And a
Mm-hmm.
marketing campaign is
Yes.
strenuous.
Yes.
It'll pull a lot out of you.
Mm-hmm.
But so is the sales side, where they have to go and do these performance of the product, and they're
Yes.
showing, and and they're out there speaking. They're the voice, for the product and how good it is, and so it, you bring the
Absolutely.
synergy into question, because that is truly where I have realized that the problem lies in the fact that there are two independent leaders with their own personal goals apart from the company goals. Now, you would think that the company goals would unite these folks, but it don't. They
Yes.
don't.
No.
I've
No.
seen it. They don't,
No.
because their performance is tied to bonuses,
Correct. Correct.
right?
Yep.
So I mean, we're gonna talk it right here.
Yes.
So their performance is tied to bonuses, and Lord forbid they don't get their bonus,
Huh. Lots of trouble.
right?
Lots of trouble.
Yeah,
Yes.
and so, but that comes out in the workforce. It comes out, it's
Yeah.
displayed, and they see it.
Yes.
So the synergy truly begins with the leadership.
It does. It absolutely does. And you're right. Sometimes the heads of the departments don't work well together. And hence the reason why I said the C-suite executives need to get more involved. Because sometimes I think the CEO is just not aware of what's really happening in their own departments. And if we're looking at really trying to close that gap in 2023, and you're trying not to lose clients, and you're not trying not to bleed your organization, sales and marketing is at the top. They are responsible for the food that everybody eats in the organization. So the CEO needs to be, to me, a little more strategic. They need to get involved. They need to ensure that they work together, and they need to develop systems as well that are better at translating these leads that marketing gets to the salespersons, because there is a gap between there, at least in some organizations, and that becomes very, very um tough to navigate.
Yeah, no, the sad part is that those relationships, they do jeopardize that food that
Yes.
everybody eats.
Yes.
The entire company feels the pain
Yes.
of this clash.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's pride. You just can't pin any particular thing on it. The fact
Yeah.
is that there are some elements of things that are causing them to rub the wrong way,
Mm-hmm.
and it comes out in the wash, right? It comes out in the people and the product, and the folks that are maybe are not out there talking about the products, but internally, it's just like physical, right? you
Yes.
you may get a cut on the surface of your skin, but some of those cut your heart feels.
Yes.
you're, you're like, oh Lord, I'm about to die.
Very true.
But
Very true.
and so on the surface it may look like, oh, it's just a the little skirmish here and there, the bad
No.
blood between two people, but the
Mm-hmm.
entire body will
No.
feel it.
Yep.
23 will demand something different from you,
Yes.
because not only will you have to deal with that, for those companies out there, or maybe leaders that are witnessing this in your company right now,
Mm-hmm.
not only will they have to deal with that, but they'll also have to deal with the monetary piece of the economy.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And that's why they need to be so specific and strategic. And because it's such an important part of the pie. If you're not hitting your sales targets, you're not hitting your sales revenue, what else can you do? Can you continue to do training? Can you continue to pay the bills in your organization? How
Mm.
can you do team building stuff? How can you continue to pay the bonuses? You have to be very strategic and look at those areas, because it filters down into everything else the organization does and could benefit and work well. And it's a number of things, as you mentioned, Enrique. It is pride, it is toxic cultures that companies allow to persist. There are maybe sometimes some sales reps who are really very good, but are really poor. They're not good at the people skills part,
Mm.
meaning at least internally within their own organization. They feel that, hey, I've been here for a long time. They may have a large part of the organization key accounts, and therefore they have a sort of attitude about themselves, and that could really, for newer persons coming into the organization, it could really impact in a negative way, and you don't want that. You don't want that. I actually saw a sales rep leave our organization. They had about 30% of the sales revenue with these key accounts. They left and they went to a competitor, and the organization just struggled and hopped along. So I always say, sometimes companies say sales and marketing is important, or sales is important, and the people in sales are important, but it doesn't always translate. And then you find something like this occurs, and a salesperson leaves, and then you are hopping along. And if, again, as we mentioned, we're looking at further recessionary a further recessionary climate, then we
Mhm.
need to look at that. We need to look at our, how can we tighten that boot? How can we really tighten it up?
Yeah, and we're approaching this conversation today, so that you could. Hopefully, you've been thinking about this for those listening, whether it's a personal, something for your business or something for your organization, where you start to think about, hey, this is the last month,
Yes,
really,
yes.
of anything. It's usually a down month because after
True.
Thanksgiving, people,
Yes,
and black, today over in
yes.
America, and I don't know if it's all worldwide, whatever, but here they have what I consider Navy Blue Friday, uh, but the big sales today.
Yes,
People been sleeping outside of stores and things.
yes.
Crazy.
And people
Uh,
been on the line. They're just waiting for these
yeah,
prices to
waiting.
fall.
Now
Yep.
I might do the online, but I'm not sleeping in somebody
No, I'm not
somebody's front
doing
yard.
that either.
But
No way.
it, you have this period where things start to go down because now it's holidays,
Yes.
vacation, people are traveling.
Yeah.
The sales don't get the love
Correct.
as you would in quarter one, two, and three.
Yes.
But I see a lot of people not taking advantage of this time where there is a downtime. People should start getting good at something maybe they weren't,
Right.
right? So
Yes.
they can go into quarter one better.
Yes.
Maybe take a course. You mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
before we were talking about this in on the live side, we were talking a little bit about the things that they can consider to do. So
Yes.
let's talk about that, because now with this environment of holiday season, people are more joyous. It's not as pressing,
Yes.
they and quarter four, it's not a
Mm-hmm.
high volume sale in terms of organizations. Employee engagement goes down
Yes.
because we're thinking
Because
about
we're thinking about other things. Yep.
other things, right? So what should sales teams should be considering now that they're having this lull in the season?
Well, I think the first thing is you should start a plan. I am in a planning state. I'm
Mhm.
I'm I'm in a auditing and a planning state. I'm looking at the things that worked and didn't work. I have subscriptions, for instance, I'm canceling. I'm having new things I'm saying, hey, I want to invest in, because I know it's going to help me in quarter one, two, and three. So I'm in a state where I'm auditing what has worked well, what hasn't worked well, where I can, cut and fix, and what I can actually make better. So that's one of the things I would tell, salespersons. You can't just keep going and going and going and keep doing the same thing. You have to kind of be self-reflective and look at what you're doing and what has worked for you and what hasn't worked for you. And I'm telling entrepreneurs and sales executives these three things to focus on in 2023. You have to look at ways to sell better no matter what. A lot of entrepreneurs don't like to sell, but I say, hey, you have to sell. You have
Right.
to be able to sell. You have to be able to sell the products and services you distribute, right? So you have to learn to sell. The other thing is you have to get online and you have to create content and create content consistently, because that becomes your lead generating tool. It's one of the first things that customers tell me. They say, Debbie, I place the call because I see you a lot. I see you online. I see you showing up. So that's one of the things. The sales part is, a very direct part to get to your customers. You do research and you go after specific customers in your territory, right? But content creation is also, a very, very important and useful tool in helping lead generation, in helping to build the know, like, and trust, and actually helps to build your authority in that space where it's easier to close sales because, hey, persons know you, they see you, they like you, right? And the third thing I tell persons to do is to think about collaboration. And this could be within organizations, it could be within large teams. It is important to really look at ways in which you can collaborate. Growth comes from a collaboration. Don't feel that you can do it all on your own. All
Mm.
these large tech organizations since the 80s have been very strategic in doing collaborations and building their brands. You see it a lot with a lot of the phones, the electronics, computers. There is a lot of collaboration there. So, and that could be duplicated for almost any business or industry or entrepreneur. The fastest way to grow is to collaborate. So that's my three areas of focus for 2023. And I would tell anybody, um, really zone into those things because that's really going to help you, to narrow the gap.
Amazing, because I put that
Yes,
three keys for 23 in there. Find ways to sell better, create content, and collaborate. And if you're not considering that, folks, you are really pushing away an opportunity to
yep,
capitalize on areas that maybe you were not considering. And so look at those three, see how you can incorporate that into your planning for
yes.
23. And you will see that things come up and you're like, oh, wow, I never considered that.
Mm-hmm.
When you say Debbie collaboration, well, we're collaborating right now,
Yes,
right? So
absolutely.
and when I think about collaboration, it's and folks may not see this this way, but sometimes when you collaborate, you may not be getting anything out of it
Right.
immediately.
Yes.
And so what folks have to understand is that the collaboration is almost like a seed.
Right. Yep.
You're doing it right. There's a collaboration between earth, a seed, and water. None
Yep.
of them independently can gain anything, but
Correct.
all three collectively will create a plant.
Absolutely. Yep.
All right.
Absolutely. And we have to get out of that selfish mindset, collaborating, helping the other person, and naturally you will see a benefit come from that. So I that's what I tell persons. I take opportunities. I'm given opportunity. I take opportunities. I don't second guess it because you never know what it will do. You never know who will hear what you have to say. You never know how you can, position yourself. So I always say yes, be open to opportunities, be willing to collaborate.
Outstanding. Well, folks, consider these three when you're talking about your sales, your plans. We're going to be moving into marketing here in a second, and then finalize it with branding because if there's anything that's important, we do see sales and marketing tied to revenue. That's
Yep.
where the stuff comes in, but there's this piece about branding that you could put everything to waste if you don't get that right. So we'll be talking about that as well. So let's move on to marketing. Marketing, and we mentioned the relationship between sales marketing, kind of parallel. They
Yes.
should complement each
It
other,
is. Yeah,
right?
yeah. A lot
Uh,
of persons don't really realize that sales is actually a subset of marketing, because marketing, an element of marketing is promotion. And how do you promote? You promote through advertising, you promote through digital ads, you promote through email marketing campaigns, you also promote through salespersons. So the concept of sales and marketing as separate, no, it's sales is a core aspect of your marketing strategy.
yeah, it's like you don't refer to your right leg only, right? There's a left leg, right? But they're
Yep,
both legs,
yep,
and they both held the body. So you
yep,
can't, you can't pin one against the other. They work in
absolutely.
tandem. But I
Yep.
tell you, if I'm walking down the street, my right leg want to go and my left don't, there's going to be some issues,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Biggest news.
Big issues. And so that's why we see that that relationship so severed sometimes. It's just
Yeah,
that they don't realize that, hey, we are two
yeah.
peas in a pot,
Mm-hmm.
and we need to continue down a road where we actually enhance each other versus tear each other apart. But marketing has many facets to it.
Yeah.
There are some people that focus on one thing overly,
Yes.
and then they negate the others.
Mm-hmm.
Um, in the terms of marketing, where do you see the biggest missteps, the failed opportunities in marketing?
Oh, I think for me, and being on LinkedIn for a very long time, of course, we are in a digital explosion.
Hmm.
So I am seeing more companies come online and embrace, a whole digital experience, your website, social media, etc. But I am still seeing a lot of B2B brands, which technical brands that have not traditionally been a part of the space, stay very long to get on that side. You see a lot of consumer brands like the Pepsi and Coca-Cola and Apple, they are totally digital. But then there are B2B brands that you don't necessarily see online. And I'm still seeing a slow migration of that. So I'm thinking that more B2B brands should embrace that, as well as companies embracing employees, and particularly employees that are, I would say, to the forefront of the organizations, like your sales team, your marketing team, your CSR teams. Companies are afraid for employees to build their personal brand. They see it as some risk. They see it
Mm.
as employees perhaps could leave. They see it as employees get too popular. Or in some instances, employees could put their foot in their mouth, and then
Mm.
it has an impact on the organization. So organizations, I think, need to not be so afraid. They need to have these conversations. They need to say, well, okay, what are we comfortable with? Because at the end of the day, truthfully, the individuals that build their personal brand and drive revenue to their organization have built relationships with these persons. And this is where marketing is heading. It is not B2B or B2C, but H to H, right? Human to
Right.
human.
Right.
So C-suite executives need to be less timid I say have a conversation, know what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with. But we are seeing really, really, at least I see salespersons like in insurance do really well because they have decided to build their personal brands online, and that has translated into business for the companies they work for. So that is something I feel like organizations, especially the executives, need to kind of look at and really just develop a strategy. Just be open to a conversation and say, okay, how can this work for us?
And that is you mentioned a good point, right? There are company brands, there are the executive personal brands,
Yep,
the company, like the workforce personal brands,
that's true.
and they often don't match.
Right?
But
Mm-hmm.
the thing is, if you have those conversations, and that's the key, right? You mentioned that. If you have these conversations around branding and how you would like as a company to be branded,
Mm-hmm.
as a workforce to be branded,
Yep.
and how the people can complement
Mm-hmm.
your company brand versus detract, because I know full well that a misstep for one employee in a
Yes.
company that may be visible, sometimes
Mm-hmm.
not even, they don't even have to
Yes.
be popular at the company,
True.
but they did something, and somehow it got, word got out that they worked for so and so Inc.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Woo! Talk
Yeah.
about talk
Yes.
about
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And
oh
we've
my
and
god.
we've had those things, and we've had those things. We've had like a lot of political unrest here. Persons that have said things, that might be politically inflammatory, and they say it in their private space, and it gets snapshot on WhatsApp, and it gets put in the public domain, and it's chaotic. So I'm not saying that there isn't risk. There is risk, but I also see a lot of growth, and really fast growth, with a lot of organizations globally. There's some even on LinkedIn where the CEO, the COO, the graphic designer, the salespersons, because they are all building their brands alongside building the company brand, and people know them and they interact with them, and people get to like the company. And so to me, there's value there. So
Right.
you just have to be, be open and be strategic, be honest with your employees and your staff. But I think it is quite doable because I'm seeing it. I'm seeing companies doing it, embracing it, and being successful at it.
And think the key is to what you said. You have to have some conversations around these things, these issues that
Yes.
may or may not affect you, because you can't have a fear of something that hasn't come.
Correct.
you, you have to prepare for it. Although it
Prepare.
will come your way. Someone will post something that may be off color
Yes.
or downright, out of character, and
Yes.
will not kind of help your company. But you need to have those conversations ahead of time to
Correct.
even know how you're going to react to something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Because one thing I saw one time was, and I've even heard of it here lately, companies imposing a no social media outside of the
Policy.
a- a-
Yeah.
a- yeah, out of their company. And
Yeah.
and you can't do that to me. but I was thinking, what would I do if
Mm-hmm.
someone came to me in my company and said, you can't have a profile on LinkedIn?
Yeah. Crazy. It's crazy.
And it
Yeah.
happens.
Yes. Yeah. They have they
Vice,
have they have some organizations here that have some restrictive social media policies as well. Yep.
And I would have to go.
Yeah, it comes out of fear. It comes
Yeah,
out of fear. It's
I would have.
totally fear.
Yeah, I would have to go because I didn't take that job for you to put restrictions on me.
Yes, on what I put up on
Yeah,
social media, on
right.
media. Yep.
Now, by all means, you also have to know who you hire, right? If
Absolutely.
if the company
Mhm.
did not, let's say I was a not so up kind of guy, right? maybe I wasn't, and
Yes.
my company did not do the research, having an opportunity to do so,
Yeah.
and then they hire me, and then find out I'm an outspoken kind of guy, and I'm
Yeah.
out there telling everybody what to do with themselves.
Yes.
That's their fault.
Yeah.
But
This. Yes.
at that point, now they will have to decide and say, hey, that's kind of like not our thing, and
Right.
thank you for your service or whatever. But
Yes.
um, but there are companies that have restrictions out there that do not favor a personal brand. It's almost
Yeah.
too like a
Mm-hmm.
branding
Right.
outside of their structure.
Mm-hmm.
It's a question. It's what do you do?
It's an interesting dynamic. It's an interesting dynamic. To me, the companies that are going that way a little bit, and I don't want to overly, I don't want to put a thing on it, but the ones that I've seen do it, they do it out of fear, or
Mhm.
also to because they are aware of some inefficiencies within their own organization, some maybe incidences that have occurred, and even some
Mm,
toxicity within their own organization, which that's what they're trying to protect. So again, they're not dealing with the root cause.
right,
They're
right.
trying to do the social media policy, but really and truly, if things exist within your organization that you don't fix, there are ways for that information to get out that isn't attached to the
Yeah.
employees. So
Mhm.
you have to really look at this. You have to look at your organizations. You have to be honest with yourself, honest with what works and what doesn't work, and be committed to working and improving the areas that need improvement within your organization.
Now you mentioned social media, a having a presence there, having a personal brand, creating a personal brand. We'll get into that specifically here soon. But in terms of marketing, how is marketing using social media versus the old way they used to do it, and what could what should we be driving towards in 23? Some things have worked, some things have not worked, and you mentioned an
Yes.
audit. Hopefully
Yes.
that's part of, for those of you listening, that's part of your audit. How what things have worked or not. But what are the trends saying concerning 23 that we should start considering?
Right. So I mean, all roads lead to digital. At the end of the day, people or companies need to do more content creation. They don't do enough of it. They need to be a little more creative in terms of the type of content. We need to position our brands in ways that solve clients' issues. It's not about just flashy ads and so on anymore. It is about positioning yourself and your company and your brand as a solution provider. And inherent in that is understanding what are the issues and the pain points and the problems of the customer. So you could then position yourself as that solution, that you offer that value. So the messaging and marketing has been changing and will continue to change. And companies have to look at that. But I also think that organizations need to have an integrated approach to marketing in terms of the digital marketing. Be very specific in terms of what you want to do, especially as we talked about having recessionary
Yeah.
conditions or on us in 2023. Look at the things that were working. Is it your content creation? Is it digital ads, Google ads, social media ads? Are you doing SEO, driving traffic to your website?
Mm.
look at all these things, because I think an integrated mix works, but you have to begin to know where you want to position more of your resources. And the only way to do that is to evaluate what is working. But again, all roads lead to doing more social media, more content, driving that content to your website. Um, and looking at different ways in which you could communicate and really reach your customers. We are looking for more engagement. We're looking for a greater connectivity, because there's so much competition, and really how we distinguish ourselves is by creating better engagement, better connection.
Yeah, return on investment is, it's not just a monetary thing. It's really a time thing
Right?
in terms of marketing, the activities around that, and what works. Because yes, there's so much you could do, right? But
Lots.
the fact is, you could take one piece of content
Yes.
and that same thing, dress it up
Yes.
by the standard of whatever platform that you're trying to, some
Mhm.
things are short, some things are a TikTok video, some things are reside on LinkedIn, some things go to YouTube, and they all divide,
Absolutely.
they all desire a particular thing. But you could use one piece
Yes.
of content, dress it up, and use that way you can actually optimize the time and
Yes.
also the benefit of that content. But
Absolutely.
back to what you say, you have to create it, right? you
You
gotta
have
you
to
gotta
create.
create it.
You have to create. But you made a perfect point there. Content creation doesn't have to be persons feel like, it's, oh my goodness, it's so much work. The truth is, when you get in, there are ways in which you could, and Cher Jones mentioned this in the live we did. She said, actually, before creating content, you need to think about how you're going to use it. So you said it exactly right there, Enrique. Content can be utilized and repurposed for different platforms in different ways. So again, it's all about planning and strategy. Before you even jump on a podcast, put out pieces of content, think about what is the purpose. How are you going to use it? How can I repurpose it? How can I reuse it? How can it, be multi-purpose and benefit me by sending out my message in a number of ways? So we have to plan, have intention in terms of what it is we want the content to actually do.
Absolutely. Now, the creation of content. We talked about sales. We talked about marketing. We and both an element of creation is in it, right?
Yes.
Folks that are just joining us now, thank you for being with us. We kind of talked about the battle between sales and marketing,
Yep.
the different things that come up
Yep.
when you have those two teams in parallel. Uh, Also, the fact that in marketing, there's different ways that you can do it, but they have to do it the best way for you.
Yes.
And but you can't negate the power of content, and marketing
Absolutely.
will do a great service to their company if they can actually understand and address the content in an appropriate way that works for them. Just because somebody got 100,000 views on YouTube does not mean that my next video is going to get 100,000. I'll tell you
Right.
that right
It's a
now.
long game.
It's
Yep.
been 3 years and I haven't got it. So I tell you, it's a long. You mentioned
Yes.
it's a long. This is a
Yes.
long road, folks, and it takes a lot of hours of dedication and things like that. But you have to consider those things. Lakita, she's with us tonight. Thank you. I appreciate. She's been on my show multiple times, but she's supporting
Wonderful.
tonight. Thank you,
Yes.
Lakita. And she says I'm taking notes.
Okay. Wonderful.
So Debbie, we get to this branding piece. We've
Yes.
alluded to it in the conversation a little bit. The company brand, the personal brand, and how that can clash at times. but this is a topic and that I think will forever be with us,
Yep.
because as long as you negate the power of it, you'll never eat its fruit.
Correct. Yep. Mm-hmm.
So
Very true.
let's talk about branding from your perspective, and how we talked a little bit about the companies. You need to stop being afraid.
Yes.
You know,
Absolutely.
if a person's gonna put something out there, they're gonna put it. Then, but have a policy to
Yes.
address that. But don't
Agree.
don't. My suggestion is don't stifle people. Don't
Agree.
don't put them in a box. That's the worst thing you could do to a person,
Exactly.
because they'll bust it open, and then what, right? So let's talk about branding. 23 is coming up. We have an opportunity to do some new things, some fresh things.
Mm-hmm.
What's fresh? What should we consider, and how should we address branding in 23?
Right. So again, we live and work in this competitive space. It's becoming more and more competitive.
Yeah.
But the truth is, when we look at the stats, even for LinkedIn, which is less than 3% of the active persons on the line are actually creating content, it means that there is still a space, and a lot of space, for a lot of
Right.
content
Mm-hmm.
creators, because I believe LinkedIn is up to about 800 million persons that use the platform, right? And Facebook is in the billions. So, right, or 1 billion, 1 point something billion at the end of the day. So, branding is all about identification, being able to identify a company, being able to identify individual or individual brand. As you begin to build your brand, what it does, it helps to differentiate you. So
Mm.
it helps to take you away from the pack. So it helps to differentiate you. It helps to show you, as a personal brand, as an authority in your space, and as a business brand, it shows you as you're a pioneer within a particular industry. So at the end of the day, it is about the difference between, a Starbucks and, a generic cup of coffee, and why we pay $3 and more for a Starbucks, and why, a generic coffee is 50 cents. There is power in branding. And it is because it helps identify you, it helps to distinguish you, and it's a powerful, powerful tool. And I say for myself, the minute I started to really focus on building my brand in 2016 and onward, doing video marketing, putting out content consistently, I started to attract opportunities I never even thought about. And that is the
Mm.
power of building your brand, and trying to build a successful brand. And I think for 2023, and with all the recessionary pressures that will be there, people have to think about, how am I going to bulletproof my career? How am I going to bulletproof my life? How am I going to make sure that I'm in a space where I can be seen as different, and I can be sought after? That is the power of building out your personal brand, and that's what it's going to do for you. So individuals have to think about that, and up and coming companies also have to think about that. How are we positioning ourselves, branding ourselves, showing our value, and making sure that we are seen as different? Because to me, that's what it does. It helps to differentiate you. It pulls you away from the pack. People see you as different, and then they want to invest in you. They want to be a part of your community.
And I'm typing this here. And I'm adding a question. How
Right,
are you showing up different with your
right.
brand, right? And because that is, if there's anything we own, and as a believer, I don't think we own anything, but but if there's anything you do own, is you.
Yes,
This thing right here.
yes,
Nobody else
Correct.
has this.
Correct.
Unless there was a twin and it's not exactly
Correct.
completely the same.
Exactly. It's
Right.
different. Mhm.
So when you have something that you actually own and you can
Mhm.
say a thing or two about it, a branding is the thing. That's where you ensure that every time you see this face, like for
Yeah.
me, every time you see this face, if you don't think leadership, shame on me.
Right.
Shame on me
Mm-hmm.
because I haven't worked hard enough.
Right.
And so when you think about people wanting to be known for something, they seldom put enough time into it or energy to be recognized for that.
Right.
And so branding is all about, and it equates. It's almost, one of those things that are like on par with each other. It equates to the amount of time and effort you put behind that brand.
Absolutely. And Enrique, it's easier to do it now. I mean, before you didn't have the digital space, and people took years and years and years of building their brand as a salesperson and use it, and you have to get word of mouth, and persons have to recommend you. But now, social media has equalized the playing field. You have a space there, just like Apple has a space there, just like Chase Bank has a space there. We all have a space there, so we can navigate and build the brands that we want. It really is up to you.
And the only person that could actually um, answer that question is the individual, right?
Yep.
And I ask it at an individual level, but I could tell you, I could use that same question and take it to a company and say, what have you invested in your brand?
Right.
And most people are like, we're not here for brands, we're here for to selling products. I said, well, good luck.
Yes. Yeah.
You might sell some because you're out
Mhm.
here, you're selling something, but good luck, because the fact is that your brand will take you farther than your company ever will.
Correct. Correct. Exactly. And what it does is that it works when we are sleeping. That's just it. A salesperson could only do much in 24 hours or in an 8 hour day going out to visit person. But building your brand becomes a 24-hour benefit. Your brand is there, your brand is visible. Persons could look at your content when you are sleeping, they listen to your podcast, they go back and see competitions you've done. So it's so important, and it's so um I saw such a tangible change in my company. I saw a tangible change, one, when I started to do content consistently, and when I also started to do video marketing, because that
Mm.
is also where you begin to build that authority, and persons see your personality, and then you build your tribe. So I see a huge benefit there, and people need to get out of their heads. Entrepreneurs who are scared to do it, and they don't want to get on video, they don't like video, but it's that helps you to build your authority in your space and build that know, like, and trust.
And we'll talk about that know, like, and trust right now, since you bring it up. But I want to thank Jacobo for joining us tonight. And there's several of you out there. That's okay if you want to remain anonymous. That's fine. But please let us know if you're joining us and where from. We love to at least highlight you in this session. But
Yes.
know, like, and trust. Three favorite
Yes.
of my things. Let's talk a little bit about that as we're going into the last 6 minutes of the show,
Hmm.
because a lot of companies don't understand that, or at least will act like they don't,
Yeah.
because it's not part of their strategy.
Yeah. Hmm. Marketing again has changed.
Mm,
So when we would have looked at advertising and so on, and you see TV ads, it was really like one-way communication. You sat
mm,
there on your couch, you absorb that, absorb that ad that came from the television. but marketing has evolved and it's digital, and we could connect with international brands. You know, you could write comments on their page. They could invite you to sessions. I mean, it's so intimate and interactive now that it isn't just about the organization anymore. It is about the building of the relationships, right? And part of building of the relationships as well is building the relationships with persons, right? People buy from people they know. People buy from people they like. Hence the reason why it's so important to do video marketing, and that shows your personality, it shows your belief systems, it lets persons into, you know, your personality and what you think about particular things. It allows you to show your subject matter expertise. So it really does build this know, like, and trust. Trust is key, because people buy from persons they trust as well, right? So you would have built your brand for a while. Again, most of my clients say, Debbie, I've been looking at you for a while, I've been looking at your content, and it would have one piece of content that would have just impacted them in some way, or impacted what's happening with them or their organization, and they reach out. But 100% of the time, they say, I've been looking at you for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what
Right.
branding does. It helps to build that know, like, and trust. So people begin to trust you. And that's why I say it becomes a tool to help you with conversion. Because if people are seeing your content, they're absorbing your content, they're going back to your website, they're saying, hey, you have a podcast, hey, you have ebooks, you have newsletters, magazines, journals. They see you as an authority in your space. You have put together all this literature here that showcases your expertise in leadership, in sales, in marketing, in branding, in wellness. And so you are beginning to plant the seed in your customer's mind, in your audience mind. So by the time they pick up the phone and call you, hey, you have done, or at least your content has done a lot of the work for you already, right? Building that know, like, and trust.
And that's a big difference from back when you just you trusted the product,
Yep.
right? So how Kobo's talking about, if branding didn't work, why buy Nike, Nautica, and all? We didn't know the CEO of Nike.
No,
As a matter of fact, nobody cared about the CEO of Nike.
no.
No,
True.
because as long as my sneaker was nice,
Mm-hmm.
and I could, and I got the value for the money I was putting down on that thing, I didn't care about you.
You're right.
But
True.
now we're a little intrigued about the CEO of Nike
Yes. Yeah.
because
Mm-hmm.
everybody else is
Mm-hmm.
out there. So now
Yes.
you're wondering, why is
Mm-hmm.
Nike not out here?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there's some questions that come up because of the way times have changed. Thank you,
Yes.
Wendy, for being with us. I see you here. And Gavin, hey, how you doing? Aloha, brother. Um, but so things have changed, times have changed, and now all of a
Yes.
sudden the emphasis, it hasn't diverted from the quality, but the fact is they've built such a quality product for so long, there's no question there.
Correct. And
Now,
here's what, persons are even invested into companies more that they know stuff about the CEO. So if the CEO is altruistic, they give back to the community, you find that persons are more invested in those
mhm.
organizations. They want to support those organizations. So it's changed and evolved in that way. And I think, that's why what we have to pay attention to.
And for those that are um, in companies that haven't really necessarily needed a personal presence as far as social media and marketing and branding, I'll tell you this: although Nike has been a favorite of mine, and I believe wholeheartedly in their product. The moment something comes out that the
Mm.
CEO or an executive was doing this, that, and the other,
Mm-hmm.
I'll stop buying Nike
Yep.
that quick.
Yep.
And so, if you want to know the true power of branding,
Yeah.
that's one.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know, how many people did not bounce once Elon Musk took over Twitter?
Exactly. Exactly. Lots of celebrities did, and lots of advertisers pulled out already.
And
You know.
that's the power on both the positive and the
Yeah.
negative
Absolutely.
of branding. And so if you don't understand those things, you might fall prey
Mm-hmm.
to the lesser one of those. Hopefully
Yeah.
you'll stay on the positive side. But Debbie, we where has the hour gone? Because it has come upon us. Debbie,
Very.
thank you
Yeah.
so much for
Thank you
being
so
with
much.
me to discuss. You know, we talked about sales, we talked about marketing, we talked about branding. But Debbie, tell us where our folks can find you. Where can they reach out? Your website, any projects you're
Okay.
working on, where they can get to know you better and apply that like and trust and all
Yes.
that stuff.
Great. Persons can find me online. Of course, I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter. I'm on Instagram. Just look for Debbie Jollie. And of course, you can find me. My website is www.debbiejollie.com. So you can find me, and reach out to me. I love to, connect with persons all around the world and to continue to talk and collaborate. Thank you so much, Enrique. Um, I hope we have some sunshine like what you have in the back there. We've been having a lot of rain, but it's like it's rainy season and hurricane time here.
Right. Yeah. Say we've been experiencing the same here in
Yes.
Florida. As a matter of
Mhm.
fact, the tropical season plus the cold fronts that come from the north, it's kind of been coupling together. But
Hmm.
yeah, no. So thank you, Debbie. Everybody that's joined us tonight, thank you so much for Laquita, Gavin, Jacobo,
Amazing. Yeah.
Wendy. Thank you so much
Great.
for being there. There were
Thank
many
you.
more that did not come in the chat. That's fine. God bless you all. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. I hope that you're making a plan for 23 in terms of the three things and the areas that we discussed.
Yeah.
You have to plan or it will take over if you don't.
Absolutely.
If you don't, right? But please, if you do anything in all of that, create for yourself a personal brand out here in this digital world.
Yes.
It will facilitate so many areas in your life that you had no idea. And
Mhm.
so, I wish everybody the best. I hope that this was
Same here.
insightful for you. Thank you, Debbie. I
Thank
really
you.
appreciate you and, very appreciative of your friendship. We'll connect soon before the year's out. Make
Absolutely.
sure I'm right. But
For
everybody,
sure.
aloha. Mahalo for being with us tonight. We really appreciate you and be blessed.